America's Mayor live, and we're live from Palm Beach, Florida. But we have the unfortunate city of Minneapolis behind us because we're going to talk about Minneapolis. But we are going to talk more about Tehran.
We're going to switch to Tehran this
Oh,
hour.
that's okay. Minneapolis is probably better than Tehran. We'd rather be there than Tehran and just calm down a little in Minneapolis. But let's begin with some good news. Fentanyl is down for the first time in a long, long time. I mean, since Obama. No, honestly, that isn't true. Obama didn't have fentanyl up, and neither did Trump. It went up under Biden. First year that it went up was under Biden, and then it went up to unbelievable numbers. And now it's come down by 37% in 1 year, which is quite something because it shows you, and that would be the result of the border closures. Drugs in general are down by about 25%. So that would have to do more with the boats that were stopped and seized, and because they're probably carrying cocaine, I would think. And most of the fentanyl comes in over the Mexican border or sometimes over the Canadian border. And most of it is a Chinese to Mexican fentanyl is a Chinese to Mexican cartel deal that's been going on for 20 years and has made them both billionaires and has killed more Americans. Like about 70% of the drug overdoses since fentanyl has been introduced come from fentanyl. And they're sneak drug doses. When I was involved in drug enforcement, drug overdoses usually happen to a person who took an enormous amount of drugs, usually someone that had become what we would call a degenerate drug user. Every once in a while, it was a mistake. Fentanyl now, about half of them are mistakes. Somebody buys what they think is just a reasonable amount to get high, stupid thing to do, illegal. You should go to jail for it, but it's not the same thing as being a degenerate drug addict. And there's fentanyl in it and you die. Even people that buy small amounts of marijuana have been killed by it because they stick fentanyl in marijuana. You say, well, why do they do that? Do they do that just to kill people? Could be. I mean, for China, this is a tremendous business. They become billionaires on it. They get to kill Americans without taking any risk. So if they were to go to war with us and kill Americans, we'd kill them back, right? Well, they're just killing us, right? And someday they want to go to war with us, or they want to find a way to make us into their subordinates and slaves. So this is each year is an investment in. I mean, in a war, they might not kill 70,000 Americans, right? Unless they did a nuclear war. So fentanyl is down, drugs are down, and I suspect, since it took a little while for this effort to really work itself up in the first part of 2025, these numbers are going to go up dramatically. But that's the biggest drop we've had ever, which is another record that he set that nobody's going to pay attention to, right? I don't know. I guess the press is in favor of fentanyl, right? Right. Must be very disappointed that it's down. Also, I've said this kind of jokingly before, but I'm going to say it seriously now. There is a good chance that in 10 years, the Great Britain we know will be a Muslim country. It will not be a Christian country. Here's the home of Thomas Becket, St. Thomas Becket, Thomas More, the English Reformation, the Anglican Church, one of the most religious countries in the world. Very, very strong competition between Catholics and Anglicans, and then within the Protestant religion, it's the place of the Methodist reform of the Anglican religion, the Presbyterian reform of the Anglican religion, the Puritans. I mean, the debates over God and theology were sometimes inappropriately violent, but these were people who strongly believed in God. About nobody in England believes in God anymore. The Anglican Church may very well have become a minority church in England. The Catholic Church is probably larger. And the single biggest name given to boy children in 2025 was Mohammed. Well, one would have thought it would be Richard the Lionheart or something, or Ian. Mohammed. Parts of England are ruled by Sharia law, not the common law. The mayor of London has been a committed Islamic supporter, including awfully soft on terrorism for, 8 years. And they've got mayors all over the country. And England's not fighting back. Keir Starmer now has Muslim holidays. So consistent with that, he wants to give up the base at Diego Garcia so that it'd make it easier for China to conquer us. Diego Garcia, you've probably heard of here and there, and it's kind of a romantic name. But there are 4 islands that we control in the Mediterranean. They're enormously critical to our ability to defend against China. The one at Diego Garcia has probably our most sophisticated nuclear weaponry, weaponry that does things that we don't even describe. They're so secret. They want to give it up to the locals. Now, here's the good thing about it. It's a very complicated ownership here. England owns it, but we have a right to interrupt them, to stop them for what we built there if they ever decide to give it up. So, as you might imagine, Biden agreed. Since he gave up an air base 400 miles from China, how could he possibly object to their giving up one that's 1,000 miles from China? I mean, they're both caving into China. Now, I don't know if Starmer got money from China. I hope he didn't, but I mean, Biden got 27 million from China. And nobody wants to take a look at, gee, I wonder if that had something to do with the fact that he gave up the base closest to China that could bomb the shit out of them. Huh? Gee, that would not Joe Biden. He was such an honest man. Joe was such an honest guy. Yeah. All that money he took in Ukraine, that's not true. Trump and Giuliani made that up. He didn't take $10 million in Ukraine. And his son, they made him into a drug addict. I mean, gee. Yeah, Biden gave up a base 400 miles from China, never gave a reason for it. His military strongly objected to it internally, strongly didn't object to it externally. They all should have been tried for treason for not doing that. They know. That fat pig that was the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, what was his name, Mooley? Chief of Staff Mullen? Mupphead. Yeah, that guy had more medals than I've ever seen. I've never seen a guy wear medals that went down to his feet. But I got a chance to examine a couple of those medals. The ones down at the bottom, they were from the Boy Scouts. He kept his Boy Scout medals. And several of them belonged to other people. Well, that's not the right one. You're just showing the one that goes down to his left breast. I'm talking about the one that went down to his feet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now, so this is the guy that was going to tell China if Trump was going to attack him. Right. I mean, shouldn't that put you in the brig? If the president's going to attack China, I'm going to tell China. What? This guy objected like crazy to Biden giving up a base, literally. Well, just to make it worse, it was 400 miles from China. Basram, 400 miles from China. 400 miles from 500 miles from Russia. And 400 miles from Iran. Why not make all our enemies happy? And 21 or 31 million, whichever it was. That's a lot of money. Right. Most patriotic Americans will sell their soul for that, right? We hope not.
We hope not.
So, Iran. What's going on in Iran right now? We probably have, I probably am exaggerating if I say we have 1/3 of our Navy in the Indian Ocean, or combination Indian Ocean and Mediterranean. with a clear shot at just about all of Iran. We no doubt have more firepower in the Indian Ocean and the Mediterranean to take out Iran about 4 times. Now, why is it there? We don't need all that. We could have done it 4 weeks ago. It's there so that if there is a counterattack, we have no casualties. Now, that's a heck of a goal, right? It's rare that we could do something like this and not have some casualties. And tragically, that's what happens with our military when they have to defend us. But our president really believes in that. He's got to do everything that he can to make it impossible to kill our people. So I can't tell you we're going to do this and there'll be no casualties, but we've actually planned it that way. This is an excess of, I can't tell you how many, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. But if you look at what what he's put there, he already had all the offensive weapons that he needed. Most of what he's brought there and a little extra offensive weapons are defensive. They're to take out missiles and planes and also offering protection to our allies in the area, mostly Israel, but they might consider hitting Saudi Arabia. They hate Saudi Arabia. They probably, well, no, they don't. The Iranians hate the Jews more than anything. The Saudi Arabians hate the Persians more than they hate the Jews. It's longer. I mean, it's a longer hatred. A very complex part of the world. And there is one thing that gives us an opportunity to straighten it out, and that's taking out the regime of terror. The single biggest obstacle to a rational solution to the problems in the Middle East. That, after all, we say, oh, America first. We shouldn't pay attention to the Middle East. A war in the Middle East could easily create a world war that would involve America and lead to atomic explosions. The way the axis of power was lining up, it was Iran, China, Russia, North Korea. 3 of those are nuclear. India plays around with China, but they'll be eventually with us. So when you have these alliances like this is how world wars start, right? Isn't that how the First World War started? The Second World War started. So how did America get in the Second World War? An ally of Germany attacked us. We didn't declare war on Germany. Germany declared war on us. Crazy, but they did. About a year, maybe 2 years ago, we were close to that. I don't know if we all properly appreciate how much the risk of that was reduced by making Iran much less significant. The hopes and dreams that China and Russia had that Iran could create a strong empire in the Middle East and control all that oil are pretty close to over. Now the real question is, can we get the regime of terror over with? Because they could rejuvenate themselves. This is not communism. This is not Nazism. This is older, deeper, and it's more dangerous. This comes from a religion that we are afraid to describe as a warped religion. It is. It's a homicidally warped religion. It's built on the major imperative that you should kill in order to convert. You should kill those who disagree with you if you can't get them to convert. There isn't what I call the organized crime exception. If you can get enough money out of them, you can let them live, but let them live as dhimmis, D-I-M-M-I. Look up what it means. It's another way of saying slaves. What I just said to you has led to more wars, more people killed than anything that ever happened in the world. The Muslim religion invented by Muhammad has led to the death of more people than anything that ever happened in the world. Not the Roman Empire, not the Nazis. And it started with their capture of Iran. and their elimination and genocide of Zoroastrians. That, now, not every Muslim believes it, but that doesn't matter. Not every German believes Nazism either. Enough believe it, so they've killed hundreds of thousands of people in the last 30 or 40 years. Enough believe it so that you've got entire nations devoted to it. But the one that keeps it going right now, and it calls itself that, right? The Islamic Republic of Iran is Iran. So destroying it, destroying the regime of terror and returning Iran to the ability to develop as a peaceful country, which it could, would probably be the single biggest assurance of peace in the world that we could get. So right now we've got two choices, right? We have a massive military fleet ready to expedite the end of the Islamic regime with arms, helping the revolutionaries who seem to be at their strongest and most aggressive point ever. And then on the other hand, we have last-minute negotiations going on with a country that, if it were rational, would probably grab at that. But there's nothing rational about them. So it's very hard to say what's going to happen.
That's
one of the big issues, and we're now going to have a guest to speak on it, is we often say, and I've heard people say this, here they're wrong before I tell you anything else. We could get worse. You can't get worse than the two Ayatollahs. Are you crazy? You could get the same. You tell me how you're going to get worse than the two Ayatollahs. They want to destroy all Christians and Jews, just like their boss Muhammad did. They didn't make that up. It's in the Quran. I've read it to you. I'll read it to you again if you want. Just read the damn thing and don't listen to the liars. Read the Quran. Read the book that Zoran Mondami took the oath of office on. The book he took the oath of office on tells him to kill Christians and Jews. I swear to uphold the laws of the United States on a book that's telling me to kill Christians and Jews. A little inconsistency in that. A little cowardice, and nobody willing to tell you that. They can't read. Well, we have with us Mickey Mohammadi, who was a candidate for a law degree and a volunteer in the Organization of Iranian Communities, because there's something in this revolution that's a little unusual. We always worry about what are we going to replace them with? Well, we have something called the Mujahideen el-Khalq, otherwise known as the MEK-POMOI. It's an organization that's about 50 years old. It is it's subjected to probably the worst terrible propaganda that I've ever seen, and it is extraordinarily strong and I think very good organization that could help with the transition. But I want to talk to you because you're a student and you get to study this sort of in an atmosphere of more abstraction. And you've had a chance to make up your own mind about it, Mickey. We had you on last week on a similar subject. But what can you tell us about your knowledge of this organization, MEK-POMI, which is run by Madam Mariam Rajavi? She's the interim president. And it's an organization to handle the transition of Iran from what it is now to a democratic republic. I think I have that right.
Yes, thank you for having me. It's good to see you again. So I'm gonna just keep it factual. No opinion here, okay?
Okay.
So the MEK was never and is now even a terrorist organization, although that's the first biggest misconception I think you kind of touched on. And so the US, UK, and EU all delisted them after a multi-year, multi-judicial, administrative, extensive review. And also back in 2004, after the US government did an extensive investigation into several thousand MEK members, after this investigation, they found no evidence of terrorism. And interestingly enough, the first time this label was attached to MEK wasn't even by the West, it was by the Shah of Iran. His SAVAK intelligence agency, which is kind of like the IRGC today, tried to paint the MEK, which opposed his dictatorship, as a leftist threat. And so after the fall of the Shah, the Islamic Republic kept that label alive. And so did some Western politicians, ultimately hoping to appease Tehran. And so when US officially put the MEK on the terrorist list in 1997, a government official even came out and admitted that the act was to curry favor with Iran's supposed moderate President Khatami at the time.
Yes, right. Khatami, right.
And so meanwhile, at the same time, Khatami's government wasn't moderate at all. They were continuing their nuclear programs. And ironically, at the same time, the US was blacklisting the MEK. The group was actively exposing nuclear sites like Natanz, which was later targeted by military strikes. And I also want to add that during the 1970s and the Iranian Revolution, this is really important because this is often not talked about. Many militant groups and revolutionary groups were operating at the same time inside of Iran to oppose the Shah. So it wasn't just the MEK. And for example, one of these groups was called the Muslim Student Followers of Imam's Line. This group carried out acts such as the 1979 or 1979 U.S. Embassy hostage takeover, where they kept hostages for like 444 days, I believe.
Correct.
Yeah, and so MEK had no involvement in this, but they actually denounced this multiple times. Nevertheless, the Iranian regime and even many in our government wanted to continue diplomatic dialogue with the regime, continued the strategic attribute of this label to the MEK.
That's absolutely. In fact, during that period of time, the regime that were holding the hostages were also killing MEK members.
Exactly.
Ordering them in the streets. They hardly had anything to do with the hostages, and they officially condemned it. You're right.
Multiple times. And so as a result, the MEK kind of became this political scapegoat. Obviously, like, it was easy for the regime to just target this one well-known organization and go at all these little faction groups. And also the MEK was known for putting extensive pressure on the regime. And this was even cited in the New York Times in 2004, I believe. I was reading some articles earlier, researching this before. So yeah, it's really comes down to a lot of propaganda over years and years and stigma that kind of will always stick because of just the nature of it.
Well, it's very, very good that you did that, because it takes a student to do all that research.
I mean, I'm not.
We thank you. We thank you for doing it, and it's really, really important because over the years, the MEK has grown and grown and grown, and it's now way beyond the MEK. It's a organization that is brought together with the idea of reforming Iran, of which MEK is a member, possibly the largest, but not the only one. And it also includes something that people don't recognize in Iran, what are called the ethnic minorities. But 40 to 47% of Iran is made up of, I guess, what you would loosely call non-Persian background, people who are Azeris, Azerbaijan, people who are Kurds, Kurdistan, Christians, yes, Christians, Baluchi, which are discussed quite a bit.
Zoroastrians.
Yeah, they're about 18, I think. And it comes out, and it's very hard to say exactly, but it's anywhere from 42 to 47% of the population. And some of them I've had on, like the Azeris. The Azeris would not be a member of any government run by the Shah, because the Shah's family, the Pahlavi
Pahlavi,
family,
Pahlavi.
you pronounce
Pahlavi.
it,
Pahlavi.
Pahlavi family,
Pahlavi, yeah.
slaughtered a lot of them. He slaughtered a lot of Persians, but he also slaughtered particularly ethnic minorities. And so the chance of keeping Iran together would be impossible with him.
Yes, you actually bring up something really important. So, what a lot of people, leading to another misconception, a lot of people like to say that the MEK is the reason why the Islamic Republic is in place today. But you exactly just said that the Shah, he killed all these minorities and all these groups. So, all that was left at the time was the institutions, was the churches. So, how could anything else uprise than that, because that's all that was left. Anything was either exiled or dead.
Yes, yeah, and the idea that all these people will sacrifice their lives, could be 30,000 of them so far, in order to bring back a dictator is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, here I am putting my life and the life of my family on the line because I want to get rid of this dictator. And you want to give me not freedom, not democracy, but another crooked dictator?
Yeah, and
That makes sense. And I think the regime is using that. You know, they were caught by a terrific cybersecurity company. They put out the report about a week and a half ago. The regime was caught putting out and hacking and putting out false posts, making it appear as if the Shah had a great deal of support. And the reason they were doing that is because they realized in certain places they can discourage people from being part of the revolution for the very reason I said. Why would they be part of a revolution to have this dictator for that dictator? And the regime understands that, and they're using it.
Yeah, and the Shah, not the Shah, the Shah's son, I know last time I said that he has no plan. I think I would rather say his plan is clearly corrupt, because I went ahead and I even looked at one of his points, and I'm going to quote exactly what he said. He wants to create a parliament, essentially, chosen by people inside and outside of Iran. Chosen. The language in that is very telling. And so that screams puppet government to me. And so it would be a shame. You're right.
Well, that's the way his old man did it. He picked the parliament.
Yeah, I mean, what happened to elections? That's what we want. Like, we're not here saying Mayor Majavi, go be president. We're pushing her. No, we just want a valid election, a true election.
Have elections, not be able to steal all that money.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna, in the next part of the show, we're gonna show them the 10-point plan of MEK, which is built on elections, and it's built on democracy and freedom, and just the opposite of what so many of the propagandists say. But I'm glad you did this for us, because this needed that kind of an analysis, and we really appreciate it. And you're going to be a heck of a lawyer, my dear.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And thank you for giving me this, opportunity to just kind of talk about this and address some misconceptions.
Well, you're very valuable. Thank you. Thank you very, very much.
Have a good.
So she comes from a family that has been very much affected by this. And there were many of them. And over the last 15 years, I've been very involved in this. And I can tell you that this is very, very doable if we make the right decisions. And it's very doable to create the kind of government that would be enormously helpful to us. And not every situation is the same. And we're very afraid that Iran will be another Iraq. But there are big differences between Iran and Iraq. Not everything is the same, and you don't always repeat history. And if you think you do, you lose the power of analysis and reason. Here are the differences. In Iraq, we brought about the overthrow, right? We brought our army in and we got rid of Saddam Hussein. Maybe the people wanted to get rid of him. Maybe they didn't, but they didn't. Here, the people are rebelling. This is like the American Revolution. This is like a bad example, the French Revolution. But nobody's come in and imposed this on them. There were demonstrations for the fourth time now in 7 years in 140 cities. bare minimum 15,000 people were murdered or executed, possibly 30,000. Surely the counting's not over in 140 cities. It's a lot to count. And the regime lies. So it's going to take a while. But this was probably their biggest wipeout ever. In 1988, the regime wiped out 20,000 members of the MEK in a 3-month period. So this would exceed that. Number two, the MEK has been in existence since 1965. It was an opponent of the Shah. It did not have a big role in the overthrow of the Shah because all their people were in prison at the time that it happened. And it's also accused of being a communist organization at one time that killed Americans. The organization that killed Americans, and they killed 3, operated right before the overthrow of the Shah. It would be impossible for the MEK to have been part of that. They were in jail. They were all in jail. And their leader, Masoud Rajavi, wrote very, very angry editorials about that, about the killing of Americans. He also wrote very, very strong editorials, which almost put him back in prison again, against the hostage crisis, for which the regime blames him and some of the idiots in the State Department do. Because we have an you've got to realize, my friends, that Iran has infiltrated us similar to what China has done. Not as effectively, not as universally, but in many ways, very, very strongly. We have a lot of Iranian favoritism going on in universities and in the press, due to both ideology and money. So you will hear very, very false reports about Iran. Like, for example, no one has reported in an American publication about this breakthrough by the English cybersecurity company, finding that the regime was putting out the mass number of social media contacts in Iran about the former Shah, supporting him, which kind of ties in with the fact that the former Shah has been in very, very substantial contact with the IRGC for the last 2 years, for which he really should be investigated and possibly put in jail, because they've been designated as a terrorist organization by America since 2018. And contact with them is a crime, particularly if you're plotting with them. But we'll be back, and then we'll show you exactly what the choices are and the plan that the MEK has, which is detailed but easily digestible. We'll be right back. U.S. Army.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
Bad pen. Bad pen. Doesn't work.
Technology, Mayor, it just doesn't work when
Let's see.
you
Let's
need
see.
it
Let's see.
to.
Let's see.
Where was that pen made?
That pen was made by Apple. Now, this is the Apple substitute. Watch. It doesn't work either. Yeah, great. Okay. Well, forget the pen.
Well, let's get you. Look around for another.
Well, you could get me one of those wooden ones, and but get the 10-point plan up first. So we were talking. Thank you very much, Mickey. You did a great job, and you took us through the history of it, just like a good student who had to do research, and that's what we needed. We had to go back 20, 30, 40 years of lies, but this program developed. As I said, the MEK started without a name in 1965. It really got put together in the force of being arrested by the Shah, and all their people were put in prison. But they were largely students, and they were all students, actually, law students and engineering students. And then while they were in jail, they developed the name of their organization, Mujahideen al-Khalq, which just means organization of the people. And they were named. They were therefore given. They were therefore given the designation MEK. And then they developed over a period of time a group of principles. And so these principles, I don't want you to think were like written down all at one time in 2006, but this is when they were published. They've been refined since then. They have an annual convention every year in which they reaffirm them and change them occasionally. Haven't been changed in 12 years. I've been at 10 of the conventions in which these were voted on and agreed to. Some of these conventions had 100,000 people at them. So we're talking about
That's right.
from all over the world. The MEK is very strongly represented in particularly in Western Europe, Italy, Germany, France, England,
Albania.
Belgium. Albania is where they have one of their headquarters. Paris is another place. So here are the 10 points, and these are the 10 things on which they would base a Iranian constitution, which they do not presume to write. They shouldn't be writing it. The people should. Their plan is should the regime of terror be displaced, that an interim government be put in for a 6-month period. They have people who are as up to date as possible as to what's going on in Iran, that they could go in and run it tomorrow, so you wouldn't have the problem you had in Iraq, where we made the terrible mistake of getting rid of all the bureaucrats, and the trains weren't running, the buses weren't running, the schools weren't opening, which was a weird thing for a country that probably had done the best nation building ever after the Second World War. Nobody ever accomplished what Douglas MacArthur accomplished in Japan, or lesser known people, but equally great transitions in Germany and Italy. 3 countries that were our bitter enemies in a very short period of time became some of our strongest friends, in which the anger of war has turned into this love for what a great job we did. Particularly in Japan. I mean, MacArthur is as much a hero in Japan as any Japanese person. And it is the basis on which this wonderful relationship exists that could help us ultimately defeat China. But here's the 10-point plan, and it is hard to see. Is there any way we can make a bigger version of that, Ted?
Yeah.
Otherwise, I can read it to them.
Well, here it is, full screen.
Oh, there it is. I can read that. So number one is rejection of absolute clerical rule. Now it's called Velayat el Falq. Now that's the Islamic, possibly from the Quran, I'm not sure, theory that a Muslim government should be run for the purpose of expanding the Muslim faith. That comes from Muhammad, by the way. There's no, Muhammad wasn't Jesus. He didn't say, render to Caesar that which is Caesar's and render to God that which is God. He said, render to me everything, including, you either become a Muslim or I kill you or you pay me. So those are the three choices. They're promising a non-clerical secular government.
Right.
Similar to what Ataturk did in Turkey. Then, of course, the second is what we would consider sort of our 10 commandments, our first 10 amendments: freedom of speech, political parties, assembly, press, freedom of internet, which they don't have. Internet is cut off right now. You got to go through permutations, combinations, and miracles to communicate with Iran right now. Third, Ted,
Sorry, yeah, we're going to put it up.
Also, as part of dissolution of particularly the IRGC, it's in there. We summarized it. In fact, the version that we edited had the IRGC in it. Dissolution of IRGC and all aggressive patrols and institutions, all of the secret police. Commitment to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is sort of a repetition of two. 4, separation of religion, no state religion like America, and freedom of religion, which means for example, in Saudi Arabia, you now have freedom of religion, but you can't put a cross in front of your church and you can't put a Jewish star in front of your synagogue. If you can have a synagogue, I don't think you can have a synagogue in Saudi Arabia. In Persia, you'll be able to have one, or Iran. And that's a very, very important part of it. Complete gender equality, very important, because the discrimination against women in Iran is mind-blowing. I mean, it's something from the 7th century. Yes, they do stone women. Yes, they do stone women for purposes that you would never consider capital punishment. Number 8, an independent judiciary. Really important because number 6, an independent judiciary. Very important because they don't have trials now. Some of the murder trials with executions take half a day. Kind of like the kind of trials that took place for me and Trump and the Trump people here in America. Autonomy of ethnic minorities, number 7, very important because I told you the ethnic minorities, they illustrate it with the Iranian Kurds. We're talking about, as we talked with Mickey, 17 others, including the Azeris and the Christians, and all of them would be allowed to set up special protections for themselves. Number 8, justice and equal opportunity based on a free market economy. In other words, this idea that they're communists, they're for a capitalist economy. Protection and rehabilitation of the environment, number 9. And number 10, and maybe one of the most important, a non-nuclear Iran. That's what they stand for. That's what they would do. The Shah has no such plan. Nobody else has a plan, and they have the people to execute it. So as you're watching this, as you're watching what happens there, please be aware. Please be aware of that. And as we see what happens in the next couple of days, you've got 2 things going on, right? You've got negotiations going on where America expects a complete submission to our maximum demands, or the president's promise that they will see an attack worse than the one they had before.
Right.
And I can't tell you which is the more likely. Now I will tell you my opinion, and we'll go to a different subject. My opinion is I would never reach an agreement with them. Under any circumstances, they could agree to do anything, and I wouldn't trust them. It's been too many years, over 55 years of lying, killing, murder, ripping people's families apart, ripping people's eyes out. This is a monstrous regime. The only thing I can tell you for your general education is almost everything they do is justified in the Quran. I can go find you the chapter and verse that allows them to do it, and so can they. Because the Quran is a book of evil. Only way that religion can continue is by cutting half of it out. And there are people who do that. There are Muslims who just write off the evil teachings of Muhammad and concentrate on the first half of Muhammad's life, in which he was reasonably benign and probably, in my view, insane, but in their view, he told them, they should have peaceful relations with Christians and Jews because we were all part of the same Abrahamic religion. However, when the Christians and Jews rejected him and the Arabs, he decided that they had all be dead, and he became a maniacal killer. You are not told that. You're told that it's a peaceful religion, and it's one of the reasons we're in the trouble that we're in. It is not, and Iran represents what it could be, and they've got just as much support in the Quran as the people who say it shouldn't. So it's time to get rid of them and send them back to the 7th century. And I don't take military action lightly, but the kind of torture that they've imposed on the world, you got to start looking at Hitler and Stalin and for similar examples. So a new documentary came out, which has done enormously well for documentaries at the box office.
Right.
One of in the maybe 3rd or 4th position ever.
Right.
But, oh gosh, if you read the press, so I haven't seen it. It's the worst ever. These poor people, they were all going to see it in record numbers, and it's the worst documentary ever done about anything, ever. It's about Melania. That horrible Melania Trump. Look at all the bad things she did. Like
I can't think.
Like what? Oh, she married Donald Trump. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. Do you have a?
That's right, Marin. Sorry,
and we are going to interview. We are going to interview a wonderful, very cultured lady. Last time I think was it the last time we were together? We were listening to a great symphony. I think
in Detroit at the Detroit Symphony Orchestra.
But she watched it, and I just want to get her view of it. So you want to talk to her first?
No, we're going to
show a clip of it.
We're going to show the clip, and I apologize.
We may lose our whole audience, according to the New York Times. If we put this on, it's the worst documentary ever done.
Unfortunately, to the great disappointment of the New York Times, Washington Post,
of course, she's never been on the cover of Vogue magazine.
Right. All the big shot Hollywood reporters.
First stepmother's been there 4 times. Our last first lady.
They are not happy because
the first stepmother.
Well, the Melania documentary has made over $8 million on opening weekend.
Oh, he got more from Ukraine,
and that's despite the efforts by the Hollywood press, the Hollywood crowd to pan it, tell folks don't even bother going. You don't want to see it. Some said it's gonna.
We may leave right now and go see it.
$1 million.
We're all gonna get up. Have a little group here. We're all gonna go see Melania.
So before we have our guests to tell us about the film, we're gonna watch together the trailer. This is the trailer for Melania in theaters now.
I remember that.
So we're going to play it with volume, preferably.
Here we go again.
You can come in. Good morning. My proudest legacy will be that of peacemaker.
Peacemaker and defiant. Beautiful. with like-minded leaders, we have a voice. Is it safe?
It is safe.
Everyone wants to know. So here it is. Hi, Mr. President. Congratulations.
Did you watch it?
I did not. Yeah, I will see it on the news.
I can remember when she didn't like some of the things he did. You should have done this and you should have done that.
Well,
It goes like this.
oh yeah.
You should know he takes her advice very, very seriously. And I can say that as someone who spent a good deal of 2016 with him. And it's really good that the American people get to see this because they haven't seen enough of her. And she's been treated horribly by the worst press in the world. Marjorie Winkleman Epstein is a Michigan-based businesswoman, and she's a friend of our show. And she has had the opportunity, I believe, to see this full documentary. Is that right, Marjorie?
Oh, yes. Mr. Mayor, good evening to you.
How are you, my dear?
Wonderful. How are you this evening?
I'm good. I'm good. So
I
now
have
tell me.
my friend Dr. Joe Ross and I saw it. We had the pleasure of seeing
Hi,
it.
Joe.
Good
It-
evening.
It was just wonderful. I can't speak highly enough of the movie and of her as an individual. What a revelation. What an opportunity for the American people to really grasp, truly begin to understand this wonderful, wonderful woman. Uh, it gives us a real glimpse into who she is, what's important to her, how she communicates, her reserve, her dignity, and refinement. A woman of tremendous intelligence and one who has great attention to detail, all detail, as small as the placement of a fork at a formal dinner party, and as grand as helping to orchestrate the inauguration so beautifully. Really impressive as a human being, totally. Like you, Mr. Mayor.
No, not like me, but she's
Oh, yeah.
much more impressive. I've known her. I was at their wedding, many, many years ago. So I've known her for a long, long time, and always enormously impressed. A woman of great dignity, a woman of
Yeah.
great intelligence, and a woman who is a very, very big support for him in ways that people don't realize because they're very private about it. They're very
Yeah.
private about the fact that I'm not sure I even know, as close as I am to them, all of the advice that she gives him and when she does and when she doesn't. And
It's done
he-
softly. I think it's done softly and carefully.
done appropriately.
Right.
Every once in
the
a while,
movie-
he'll say, Melania agrees with that, or Melania, when we're talking about a policy position.
Right.
And first of all, you realize if she says, if he says she agrees with you on that, you just won.
What I love too, yes, what I loved about the movie is it gave us a chance to get a little feel for their relationship, the president and first lady. You could see moments of tenderness between them, genuine tenderness. At one point during the inauguration, she had on that hat with the brim, and he wanted to kiss her, and he had to go underneath the brim of the hat. And there was another moment where she put her arm very tenderly around him while they were talking with a group of people. They hold hands. They clearly have a tenderness for one another. And she's a woman of great faith and has undertaken individual initiatives that are significant for the American people. We all need to know this. And Joel mentioned something. One of our friends, exited the movie and made a big statement about the movie. Yeah.
He said he thought that every child in America should be afforded some opportunity to see at least part of this film.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah. Because of it reveals so much of her heart and who she is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. Well, I'm glad that you got a chance to review it for us. It's doing very, very well. And I don't think this ridiculous assault by the weird press will make any difference. I think it was expected, and I'm not even sure they watched it. Ted, do you have a question?
I do. To the doctor and to Marjorie, where in America did you watch it, and how? And was the theater packed? Because we were told by the big shots in Hollywood, no one's gonna go. Don't waste your time. This thing might make $1 million tops. Tell us, where did you watch it, and tell us about the how packed the theaters were.
Okay, well, we watched it here in the state of California, and the theater was packed. And we got advance tickets because we were concerned we would not be able to have seats. So lots of folks interested in the movie. And I think those that are resistant are those that really need to see this and open up their minds and see what this individual is really like. Could I say something about her fashion sense?
Yeah,
You know,
please.
she is not Jacqueline Kennedy. We had one Jacqueline Kennedy, but Melania Trump is on that level of gorgeous individuality that's captivating. Only Melania Trump would tell a designer to shorten a dress, to take in the brim of the hat a bit, to taper the collar, to change the material. Jackie Kennedy was loved Oleg Cassini, for example, and she would never alter anything that he presented to her. Those pillbox hats, everything as he presented the designers she wore. But this movie was a lot more, had much more depth. Was not about fashion or frills. It was about what makes her tick. What makes her tick.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, Marjorie. Thank you,
Good.
doctor. Thank you, Marjorie. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and it's great to see you.
Good to see you.
Wonderful to see you, Mr. Mayor.
God
Take
bless
good
you.
care of yourself.
I will.
Thank
You
you.
too.
Thank
What a wonderful couple, huh? And very, very cultured, very civilized, and wonderful people. Great knowledge of music as well.
Oh, they're great.
Yep.
And Marjorie has a background
Yeah.
in fashion. She kind of let that out a little bit with her comments.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's absolutely absurd. A sign of the censorship that still exists in this country, despite the fact that we have an administration that's against censorship and doing everything it can to combat it, as opposed to the censorship we used to have under Biden, that they're discouraging you from seeing it. They're afraid you might find out something nice about her. That's what's going on. And it's I ask you just to watch that, because this is happening to you in almost everything presented to you. A horrible thing to say, but the best thing I can use this for is as an analogy to everything else that's happening. So when you see something pressed very, very hard by the mainstream media, it's a horrible thing to tell you, but it's probably not true. They're not going to spend their time on too many things that don't fit they're selling you their agenda. So if you need a signal for where you've got to go look for other information, and you've got to go get a different viewpoint, it's when they're all unanimously telling you something. And if you listen carefully, you'll see it's almost the same words. I mean, I went through this when I represented Donald Trump. I would wake up in the morning, I'd put on one station, and they would say, "Big blockbuster today, Cohen to testify." Oh, okay, good. He's a big liar. We're going to prove he's a liar. I have no problem with that. I got tapes of him lying, about 8 of them, and I blew them up in a day. Then the next one comes on, "Big blockbuster today." Same words, blockbuster. Cohen was a blockbuster. He was a damn perjurer, but he was a blockbuster. That's the way they described him. Then they'd have what was the big breakthrough? The big breakthrough was the guy that Shifty Schiff had, that was going to, he's going to tell us about how Trump bribed Ukraine.
Right.
And they were going to withhold him, and then they're going to put him on the stand. And that was going to be 15 times in a row, one station to the next. Big breakthrough today. Everybody used the word breakthrough. not big story, not big revelation, all of which you would have used if it weren't all memorized and put out as talking points. All of them would say, big breakthrough, big breakthrough, big breakthrough, big breakthrough, big breakthrough, big breakthrough, big breakthrough. This is operating the way China operates. This is operating the way the Soviet Union operated. This is operating the way Nazi Germany operated under the way it was under Biden. This is operating the way 1984 operated. And I was trying to point out to you earlier, they've done that with MEK because MEK challenges their ability to have a democracy in the Middle East. I mean, there's a reason there's only one democracy in the Middle East, and it's Israel. The very single biggest thing to defeat both communism and Islamic terrorism is democracy, because they don't believe in it. They believe it is as deadly an enemy as God and parents. So, Ted,
Mayor,
we're going to send him over to Dr. Maria.
you're not panicking because of the, you weren't impacted by the partial government shutdown?
Oh, I couldn't do anything today. Didn't you find you couldn't do a damn thing today? It was totally different than any other day because the government was shut down. It was.
I guess with a partial, has the House returned and
Did
voted?
we save money as a result of that? That'd be good. We save money.
Right. We'll have to check in with our White House or Capitol Hill team to see if Congress is coming back, because we are awaiting a House vote before it can go to.
Well, it can't be true because Congress didn't bother to come back and vote. They took their weekend off.
Right. All of a sudden it's not. So the House plans to vote tomorrow, Tuesday, February 3rd.
They could have voted on Friday night if they decided not to take another 5-day vacation.
Today, the House Rules Committee took up the legislation, and that's the final step before it can go to the floor for a full House vote. And after that, doesn't it go back to the Senate before going to the president again?
Doesn't have to go back if they approve what the Senate sent them.
Okay.
If they change it in any material way, not only has to go back to the Senate, it's got to come back to the House. Remember the rule. A revenue bill has to originate in the House of Representatives. Okay. The reason this is coming back to them is this is not exactly the bill they sent to the Senate. So therefore, this revenue bill, as it stands right now, did not originate in the House. Something different originated in the House. All there has to be is one material difference. So now, if the House passes it the way it is, it's over. If the House were to change what they call a material part of it, maybe not a paragraph, then it has to go back to the Senate. Then it has to go back to the House again, unless the Senate passes it exactly the way the House sent it to. So that's the game that they play, and that's why they can work so little, because they play games and they don't really do things. I mean, right. This problem should have been solved 25 years ago.
Right.
I mean, it
could have been.
You shouldn't be able to close the government. It's absurd you can close the government. And it's absurd they get paid if the government's closed. In a lot of states, they don't get paid anymore when a government closes down. In essence, New York City closed down for 7 months because the city council wouldn't approve my budget. So I just operated on the last budget. We actually had one of our best years. We saved more money. We were much more efficient. I could concentrate on running the city and not all the crazy things they do.
Well, I've heard from a lot of friends back in New York, Mayor. Boy, do they miss you. They had their first big snowstorm under the new mayor, and I think some people are still digging themselves
out.
The
New York Post has got the best picture I've ever seen. And of course, I'm very familiar with it. It's my old house. So Gracie Mansion is on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. It's a little isolated. It's by Carl Schurz Park. And on the other side of the street from Gracie Mansion are houses and apartments, beautiful old-fashioned houses and apartments. If you look at the street right now, and it's 5 days after the snow. If snow was still there 5 days after, I'd have a new sanitation commissioner, a new parks commissioner. They'd all been fired. You'll get a picture of it right now. Gracie Mansion is way back. You can't see it because all the garbage is.
Oh, that's it. You can see
But
it.
Here's what you don't see. What you don't see is all that garbage is on the other side of the street. This guy's stupid enough to clean his side of the street, but not the other side of the street. He's got 5 days of garbage. There are rats running around in there. There are rats running around in that garbage in one of the most expensive parts of New York. And his side of the street is completely devoid of snow. Not even de Blasio was stupid enough to do that. De Blasio decided the first time with the first snowfall, because in his case, the Upper East Side of Manhattan didn't vote for him. They actually voted for this communist Islamic terrorist sympathizer.
This is right outside Gracie Mansion.
I don't think I've ever seen that neighborhood look like that. This is a neighborhood where I don't think you can buy something for less than $1 million. I'm sure you can. I mean, this is their revenge because they don't like, remember, didn't he say he doesn't like rich people? Yeah, because he's rich, but he doesn't like rich people. He doesn't like his parents. His parents are rich Islamic terrorist lovers, if you can be such a thing.
Yeah.
Well, this is only the beginning of what's going to happen under him. Far worse than that, 12 people died during the snow because he doesn't pick up the homeless. That reversed Adams. That reversed positions of mayors going back 50 years, including some really bad mayors who still picked up the homeless. He let them die on the streets. That's as close to being an accomplice to their murder as he can be. But what does he care? Communists don't care much about murder or death. Well, human life doesn't mean anything. Just the future of their cause means something. And you will find out that what I told you about him is just as true as everything I told you about Biden and everything I told you about the election. And you see what's happening in Georgia, right?
Right.
Did we show the?
We have not.
Can we show that before we go?
We can. If you want to set the stage while I get it.
Well, Georgia now has twice determined that there are two piles of 300,000 votes that are invalid. The first pile is a pile that's missing. Now, maybe they'll find them. I doubt it because I think they burned them. The next group are not authorized. They would never properly. When you certify a vote, you mark it. So, when you don't certify a vote, in other words, you don't certify that you saw the signature from the paper ballot. This does not apply to any of the ballots in the machines. The vote can't be counted because there's no guarantee that it ever was cast. There were 320,000 that were counted that were never certified. Now, when you consider that there is an unbelievable amount of evidence that they were producing phony ballots, when you consider that in all this time they have never produced a single paper ballot for analysis for fear that you could show that it's not on the same stationery as the stationery of the official ballots, or for fear that you could show that they were marked by a machine, which we have every reason to believe was operating 3 blocks away from the center in Fulton County. This is a lot more than just a technical error. But technically, these votes should be discounted from the votes in Fulton County. You should take these votes out and go count the votes of Fulton County again, and there'll be 300,000 votes less cast in Fulton County. Now, since Biden won Fulton County by 7.5 to 2.5, about that, that would mean that Trump would have won the overall state vote by about 80,000. And we elected the wrong person in Georgia. You think the same thing happened in Wisconsin? Since I'm right about Georgia, do you think I'm right about Wisconsin? Want to bet? You think I'm right about Philadelphia? You know how much he was ahead in Philadelphia before they started recounting, after they threw everybody out? 700,000 votes. I had people telling me, don't worry, Rudy, they can't possibly overcome Pennsylvania. I said, you've never seen the Democrat Party when they want to cheat. This is the thing. The only other thing they did better than cheating was support slavery. It's become an evil political party, but it's only discovered what it always was, an evil political party. It started in evil, and it's going to end in evil. And he won for sure Georgia, Arizona, and Pennsylvania. I'm not sure about Michigan. I think he did, but it would be real close. It would be real close. And since they've destroyed ballots, you might not be able to get all the ballots. But Michigan was the only one that, plenty of illegal activity in Michigan, maybe as much as any place else. but I'm not sure that there's enough fraud that you can prove that overcomes what was the margin in Michigan? About 40,000, 30,000? 20,000.
20 something. Well, let me look. Well, you're right.
I thought it was a little
it was
bit
higher.
more.
It was higher.
It was only 11,000 in Georgia.
I'm mixing it up with
which was pretty
2016.
easy. It was only about that in Arizona, which was, I mean, you got 5 ways you can overcome it in those 2. Pennsylvania was a very, very big margin, but you can't believe the amount of phony ballots they put in, and you also can't believe how often they couldn't balance the books. Meaning, constantly they constantly were having more votes counted than cast, and then they kept readjusting it. Must have done that about 4 times.
Yeah, about 150 in Michigan.
But
About a 150 margin in Michigan.
yeah, that's why I thought it would be
And
tough.
Stephen, here, you can definitely pull 150 out of Wayne County.
No. I'm not saying you
We
can't.
can't.
What I'm telling you is, the 2 very close ones would be easier to do. You can do it 5 different ways. That's Arizona and Georgia.
Right.
And Pennsylvania, the volume of cheating in Pennsylvania and the proof of it is
Right.
unbelievable.
Right.
I mean,
and
big
your instincts are right.
trucks with ballots.
Being from Michigan, Mayor, I think your instincts are right. A lot of questions in Michigan, but we can't be for sure. Look, whether we like it or not, Biden.
Maybe I should put it this way. I'm sure they cheated. I'm not sure I can prove it.
Well,
The other
did
3
they
I can
cheat to
prove.
the
Of course they
right
cheat.
number to overtake?
Yeah, but they
That's
can't
the
possibly conduct an election without cheating. I will tell you this about the Democratic Party in New York City and in Philadelphia. Even in elections that they're going to win by a landslide, they cheat so they can keep in shape and in practice. That is absolutely true. I don't think there's ever been an election in New York since Boss Tweed in which they haven't cheated.
And
They cheated me out of my first election, and they cheated in my second election, but I overcame it. My third election wasn't worth it. I won on a landslide. That may be when they don't cheat. Maybe they were cheating a little to practice in that one, but I didn't care because I beat the hell out of them. So we'll be back tomorrow night. You go over to Dr. Maria now on Lindell. She's got a great number of topics, similarly, that she's covering. And then you come back to us at 7 o'clock tomorrow night on X and Lindell, and 8 o'clock tonight here, and we'll see where we are in Iran, among other things, because I think we are at the decision point. It's got to be made sometime in the next 3-4 days. So pray for the people of Iran, and pray for the people of Israel, and pray for the people of Ukraine, because I think something may be happening there. Putin did agree to a week of not murdering people, which is the first time he's done that in 4 years or 3.5 years. And pray for us, of course, and pray for our president, who has the weight of the shoulders on his world, but he has you to guide him. God bless America.
I want to remind everyone what happened yesterday as it relates to the actual fact pattern of law. And a warrant was issued by a magistrate judge based on probable cause after evidence was submitted. Not a Trump-appointed judge, a magistrate judge. That is the way that the law enforcement process works in America. But we have heard repeatedly that everything was perfect with 2020. In fact, I think we probably at this point could trademark the most secure election in American history. What qualifications we use to measure that, I have no idea. But let's go back to what actually happened in 2020 if we're going to have the conversation. Drop boxes invented out of thin air, nowhere in Georgia law. Mobile voting units moving through Fulton County to 80% Democrat precincts, 81% Democrat precincts to be precise. Nowhere envisioned in Georgia law. 6.8 million absentee ballot request forms with a first-class stamp sent to every registered voter in the state of Georgia. Nowhere envisioned in Georgia law. If you count the same ballots 3 times, in theory, you should get numbers that match. But that
It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze,